Disney claims $215 million opening weekend victory, but don't believe everything you read. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore, and yes, this is an impressive opening weekend number. But they did something sneaky. They did something sneaky that I want to break down because I think it's really unfair to call this a victory. It's too early to call this one a victory because what they did has serious ramifications, and I want to break them down for you. Okay, so here's Deadline reporting. Disney last night, Sunday night, released a press release about how it's a $215 million victory. Now, this was a psychological thing they did. They released this number, so a lot, and I've seen some other channels and pundits and people sort of accepting it, eating the crow, saying, wow, Black Widow did really well. Of course it was going to do well. Of course it was going to have a big opening weekend. The big question is, will it have legs? And will the methods they released it allow it to have legs? So I want to break this down. This $215 million is not domestic. This $215 million number that you'll see around today is from a $80 million domestic, which is, let's be clear, for the state we're in right now, the world we live in, it's impressive. They were hoping for more, but because they put it on from Disney Plus, of course that number went down. They got $78 million international, which is massively low because they didn't get in China and a lot of other territories. But they finally released a number, and they admitted that they made $60 million in Disney Plus Premier Access. So that means about 2 million people paid $30 to see it on Disney Plus. And also, don't forget they had to have a Disney Plus membership. So that's another, what, $10 or whatever it is, $5-10 in addition, which hopefully they stick around is what Disney's hoping for. But when you add these numbers together, yeah, it sounds impressive. $215 million, wow, bravo, Disney. But look, Variety did something special. I got to give them props here. Variety asked the question, yeah, I made $60 million, but is that good? That's really the question here. Because when you compare it, which they do so brilliantly here in this chart, to what the other Marvel movies have made in their run, granted, I know this is the full run, and this is only the debut features of Marvel, not all movies. But when you look at this isn't that impressive. Now, granted, you'd think, oh, great, they're going to have a huge, long run. But do you guys really think that Black Widow is going to double this revenue over the next couple weeks? Because I don't think that's possible. I think it's going to go tremendously down because you got to remember, because 60 million people bought it on Disney Plus, which, great, good for Disney. You made more revenue. Okay, that's all Disney money. They don't have to share that with any theaters or anybody else. They can watch that movie now multiple times. They don't have to go back to the theater. They're not going to have to buy a Blu-ray. They have the movie now in their library. They just paid for it right away. There's no replay value, which I imagine is huge for a lot of these Marvel movies. They go back and watch it a couple times, see the post-credit scene. I want to watch it again. I want to go see it again in IMAX. No, they have it now already at home. And so that $60 million is going to be huge in deterring a lot of replay value. You know what I mean? People are going to come back and buy a second ticket. And so when you look at the domestic total, which is here, $80 million, yeah, it seems like it did well. It did pretty well. But the drop-off on Saturday was 41%. I want to break that down because they do a tremendous job here in, I think it was Deadline. Is that where I saw it? This is a huge, huge loss. Here we go. This is seismic, as let's use their words. This is an important number for you to understand why I'm saying you can't just call this a success yet. Captain Marvel had a 14% drop from Friday to Saturday. So this is a Saturday drop. Saturday, when the movies should do, still pretty well off their Thursday, Friday highs. Captain Marvel had a negative, was down 14%. Doctor Strange, 3.7%. Ant-Man, 14%. Black Panther, 13%. Quiet Place and Fast 9, 25%. And 22%, respectively. Black Widow dropped 41%. 41%. That's huge. So that means the Marvel fans came out in droves, and then nobody else came out to the theater. And then they decided to just buy it on Disney Premium Plus or not go at all. And so that drop, granted the world we live in, the Rona, et cetera, I understand that. That's part of it. But that's a huge drop. If they hadn't had it on Disney Plus, I bet you the box office would have been way longer, and they would have had longer legs, and they would have made more money. That's just obvious. And so they also apparently it was a male-female ratio was the problem. And so look, there's a lot of reasons why Disney is going to try and make this seem successful. Again, I want to make sure this is also important. They usually have to pay the theaters a lot of fees, but they now can walk home with a $78 million in revenue off of this total. Then had they actually put this and made $100 million, they would have taken home $60 million. So they get to make more money by making less. So that's a big deal. So they, if they had made $100 million this weekend domestically, they would have made less. They would have made about the same that they made on Disney Plus Premier Access. Do you follow what I'm saying? If they had made 100 million ticket sales, a lot of that revenue would have gone to the theaters, et cetera, and they still would have made 60 million. And so the argument here is, well, but guys, look, we made 60 million profit, and we got, we get a portion of that. The theaters get a portion of that. We did really great. We made it, we easily made more money. And then we, here 80 million, they probably made, 50, 60 million maybe from that. 50 million. So you'd think that would be great. But the problem is with the drop off, you can already tell if Saturday was 41%, the box office next week is going to be even lower and then lower and lower. That's just how movies work, when you release it. Add to that the tremendously low international numbers, which compared, again, these are just debut movies, Avenger movies, even bigger, right? Sequels, usually even bigger. 78 million already. That's not enough. And unless they can open up China and get that money, which it doesn't seem like they can, it feels like they did this number, this $215 million number, almost as like a way to see like, hey, China, see what you lost out on? You could have made money. We made 215 million-ish, asterisk. This is a brilliant move on Disney to try and get people to say it's a victory, when the reality is we don't know yet. We truly don't know if it's a victory until we see what its legs are. But I can only assume the legs are going to be not very long. In which case, maybe, and I'm being generous here, maybe it doubles its revenue and makes 400 million. But I think that's incredibly unrealistic. Incredibly unrealistic that they're going to make that much more in the coming weeks from Disney Premiere and from theatrical. The movie's out. It's old news now. You can sort of see all the scenes on YouTube. It's old news. It's spoiled. People are also very mixed on the film. It's not like huge glowing reviews. So at the end of the day, while they're trying to say this is a victory, and it does seem like, wow, bravo. I mean, they've pretty much broken even. The movie cost $200 million, you got to remember. Plus, they've the marketing costs, which they have to market multiple times now. This movie's easy $250, $300 million somewhere for the full budget of everything they've had to pay, premieres, etc. So I'd be surprised if this movie breaks 300 million. Will it make unless they can open up China or some other big territory, and then that gives them a huge opening box office. This is not going to fare as well as, look at this, Ant-Man or Incredible Hulk, Doctor Strange. The Black Widow movie falling well below those is crazy. The fact that this Black Widow movie might make the same as Incredible Hulk, I'm talking this was the Iron Man years, before this Avengers happened. This is Edward Norton's Incredible Hulk. That's not, to me, that's not a victory. This is Disney trying to save face and realizing, damn, we made some errors in how we released this. Now, all of this isn't Disney's fault. Everyone wants to blame Disney and say, oh, the movie sucks and woke, whatever nonsense. That's not my... Look, I liked the movie better than I thought I would. I'd give it about a 2.5, which is what audiences seem to be giving it as well. I put out this poll, and granted, this is my audience, but if you look at this, it's about, 52% 3 stars. The next one, 30% 2. I'd argue it's right back smack in the middle. People overall were pretty much calling this movie meh. I asked, they hated Taskmaster, so that I think that's the other thing we universally all agree upon. Complete waste of Taskmaster. Did Natasha get the proper send-off? It was okay. Do you feel like this movie, excuse me, after Civil War was necessary and worthy for the MCU? Meh, it was fine. Who was the best character? Yelena. Who was the next best character? Red Guardian. Natasha was the 3rd best character in her movie. That's not great. So look, overall, yes, opening numbers, this is an easy victory to say right now. But you got to look again in a week or two and see what the number is then. Because if that number is not growing exponentially like the others do, well, then this was a failure. This was ultimately a failure because you left so much money on the table. So much money on the table. I mean, it's insane when you look at this graph, how much money. This movie should easily be up here. I mean, I figured 800 easy for Black Widow. I wasn't sure if it would make $1 billion, but in all said and done, I figured this is an easy $700 to $800 million movie. And they're nowhere near it. And they got a lot of work to do to get it there. International is a huge chunk of where these Marvel movies make their money, as you see right here. And the fact that they can't in a lot of territories is one thing. But the fact that this is why, guys, Disney is, hey, China, what do you want? What do you need? Give it to me. This is why. Because they make so much money there. And now because of Shang-Chi, Eternals, China's not really enjoying or wanting to be in bed with Marvel as much. And it's going to be interesting to see what Disney does about that. They're still trying to get this movie released there. And will they release it? I don't know. This movie's very easily pirated now. So I've read in a lot of the trades. But guys, overall, this to me is not a huge victory lap. Yes, it's easy to tout that when you put your numbers together. And I want to say again, good on Disney for finally releasing said numbers. It's nice to see some transparency because I think this should show and warn everybody, look, yeah, that seems like it's high if it's a cheap movie. But for a Marvel movie, to only 2 million people paid $30 to see it? That seems low to me, guys. If you really think about it. And that opening weekend's when you're going to get the biggest number. Maybe they get another 20 million people overall. Maybe they make 80 million on Premier Access, which, sure, that seems good later on. But for the opening weekend, I don't know. That's it. You're done. It's over. You own it. I own it. I have no other windows. Am I going to buy that movie on Blu-ray or other revenue streams, like the windowing that movies do, now that I already have it on Disney Plus, which I'm paying for monthly? And then my monthly Disney Plus fee isn't like covering which is similar to a Blu-ray. It's less. It's cheaper than buying one Blu-ray. These numbers just I don't get it yet. I don't get it. I'm curious what you guys think. Now, seeing all this and understanding what that number really means, I'm curious. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Before you go there, please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for all alerts, smash that like button, and then tell me down below what you think. Do you think these numbers are a success, a failure, still too hard to tell? I want to hear your thoughts down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for more here on Popcorn Planet. So happy to be back. Lots more news coming your way.